first tonight, you're about to meet a Mainer at the top of his profession, and it's a pretty cool profession.
How did he get there? Well, there was no doubt some luck, but it really came down to desire, talent, and a lot of hard work. At the South by Southwest Film Festival in Austin, Texas, hundreds of documentaries are submitted with the hope they'll be chosen for screening, but only a fraction of them are selected. One documentary that was picked a few years ago was a film called Bounce, a look at the simple, universal joy of playing with a ball. The cinematographer who captured the images in Bounce is David McLain, who first picked up a camera in high school and never put it down.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a photographer. I have no plan B.
McLain's pictures tell his story, but words provide a little background. When you were young, which is say in your early and mid-20s and shooting, what were your aspirations? What was the pinnacle for you at that time? What were you shooting for?
Oh, it's so simple. I always wanted to work for National Geographic as a photographer, period. That was my goal from high school on.
It took him about 15 years to make that dream come true, to work for a publication renowned for its visual storytelling. Was it pretty thrilling for you to be able to do that, go all over the globe and have time to do your best possible work?
No, it's horrifying to work for Geographic. It's super scary because people are like, oh, it's so cool, you just get to go hang out in interesting places. No way. Like, you're under enormous pressure to bring home the goods. And that's not complaining, it's just hard work. All great work is hard work.
McLean lives in North Yarmouth, and his job has taken him around the globe. One of his favorite projects, a series on places where people enjoy exceptionally long lives. How do you shoot older people with a fresh eye so it's not cliched?
I wanted to make old people look amazing, because they are. And I think in our society, old people are looked down upon, brushed aside, not thought of as like cool, and I wanted to turn that on its head.
Of all the places McLean has seen in the world, the most interesting to him is one that might surprise you: Greenland.
It's one of the last great places left, period. I mean, there just aren't many places that you go to that are that epic and grand and exotic.
When you went to some far-flung place and would spend an 18-hour day and you're there for a month, how many photos would you shoot?
40 or 50,000 photos to get 12.
You say that in kind of a matter-of-fact way, but that's a pretty astonishing number. 40 to 50,000 images to come up with 12 that'll get used.
Yeah, and it gets even crazier, right? Because let's say each picture is about a 60th of a second. So I don't know, do the math. You basically have spent months capturing what boils down to, a 15th of a second of time, frozen.
McLean brings to the job curiosity about people, an exquisitely discriminating eye, and detailed planning. For each day of shooting in the field, he typically spends 3 days preparing. Obviously, when you go out on an assignment, you do not travel light, David.
Oh, God, no. I always say half my job is moving like super heavy Pelican cases around and then taking stuff out of them and putting stuff back in them.
The gear interests him, and smaller, lighter cameras often make his job easier. But he's not obsessed with the equipment, never has been.
It's about the idea. At the end of the day, it's always about the idea.
What happens when the airline or somebody else loses a bag? Get out. Really? It's never happened?
I won't even talk about it.
About 15 years ago, McLean started branching out from still photography to filmmaking. In the last 5 years or so, he's gotten really serious about filmmaking. And as with photography, the key for him is preparation.
The way you get amazing content is you're in a place where amazing content happens. How do you get there? Pre-production. You figure out where you're going, what you're doing, and when it's happening. And then you get yourself there, which sounds easy, but it's not.
The narwhal came as an offering.
McLean doesn't bother to add up how many countries he's been to. To him, the travel isn't about keeping lists or checking boxes. Coming home to Maine, though, always feels special.
Feels like, that's what it feels like every single time. Every single plane I've ever got off of, the second I step onto that jetport and feel the cool air, I'm so glad to be home. I love it here. There's nowhere else I'd rather live.
For now, though, there are still cultures to explore, people to learn from, moments in time to capture. The camera is his passport to different worlds. And, he says, it never gets old. David McLean says one of the things he does to keep getting better is he reads a lot. Books, newspapers, magazines. He says reading enriches the way he sees the world, and that's what photography and filmmaking are all about, the way you see the world. If you want to see more of David McLean's work and learn more about him, go to newscentermaine.com/207.